Hi everybody, I have a lower body sequence for you today. So go ahead and get out a block and either a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball. Okay, I'm going to use these tools to do some myofascial release mixed in with some yoga. You may also want a pillow or bolster to support you. So whenever you're ready, set those aside and come over to your mat. We're actually going to start standing. So first we're going to take a position on our feet. So feet at least hip widths apart. I like mine a little bit wider. And as you're ready, fold over and find a stretch in the backs of your legs. So here you really want to try to hang and keep your weight centered. So not too far forward and not too far back. You do not have to fold in half like this. You can keep your hands resting on your thighs or your knees like so. But really find that comfortable position for your body and be sure you're breathing. So even taking a few moments to find your breath before this is really crucial. If you want an added weight, use your arms overhead to kind of add a counter weight to this position. Okay. And don't forget to kind of shut down your eyes a little bit if that feels good, just to bring your attention centered. All right, now take a seat, wiggle it out if you need to, and then come down onto your back. So here, guide one leg in, so knee into chest, take a few rolls of your ankle, explore the space in your joint area there, and then take your hand to either the outside of your foot, your shin, your pant leg, whatever you can grab, and then aim to point the sole of your foot up towards the ceiling. So this is half happy baby. You may have done this in a yoga class where you've grabbed both feet, but this is just, we're just doing one side at a time here. So guide your knee almost towards your armpit and down, okay? And again, this can look a variety of different ways. So really focus on what you're finding in your body and do what's accessible. Okay. Be mindful that you're staying connected to your breath and that your hip, the opposite hip, is staying grounded to the floor. I like to take my opposite hand and place it on the hip just to kind of tell my body, nope, we're not moving here. We're going to stay planted to the floor. Okay, after that, hug your knee in and then take a recline twist. You've likely done this one before, but make sure you are staying grounded through your shoulders on the floor. Your arm is out like a T, which you can't really see in this image, but guide your knee over to the side, chin to the opposite shoulder. Breathe here all the way up and down the length of your spinal column if that feels good. And focus on the stretch all the way from the low back or the lumbar spine through the glute and even to the outside of the thigh. This is one of my favorite positions. You'll probably find it in most of my yoga classes. I don't think there's anything wrong with a twist. I think it's one of the most perfect stretches out there. Okay, so release that leg, do a couple extensions and flexions of the leg, maybe even take a moment to stretch the hamstrings a little bit more and really focusing on flexing the foot. You may even notice I'm flaring my toes here, making it super active. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So your knee goes in towards your chest, do a little point and flex of your ankle. The hand goes to the outside of the foot or to the pant leg or the shin. And then you'll see how my knee is moving down and see how that opposite hip wanted to lift off the floor. I use my hand to really guide it down. And just that energy and mindfulness together of guiding the hip down really does make a difference. Again, you do not have to create a crazy 90-degree angle here. This is just my body. I've been doing this a long time. So really whatever you find is important. The key is to stay grounded through your shoulders and your hips. Okay, so find a position or shape that works well for you. And then into the twist, I like to take my knee into my chest and then exhale, drop my knee to the opposite side. Breath, again, is very important here. When you twist, you're really they like to say kind of ringing or detoxing your internal organs, but what you're doing is, you're twisting and changing the location of your vertebrae. So it's really important to do this mindfully and with kind of skill. Okay, so be really mindful of that. Also, it is great for digestion specifically. Your intestines do move a certain way, so it's important to do something like this just for the health of your gut. Again, you can take this hamstring stretch here, bend and flex, do a few rolls, and then we're going to move to a seat. So I like to roll up and down the length of my spine here. So after you've done a little bit of movement in your hips, go ahead and do that. And then find a butterfly shape. So bring the soles of your feet together. You can guide your feet out away from you for less of a stretch, or guide your heels in for more of a stretch. I like to flap my wings here a little bit, add a little bit of dynamic movement before I go into a static fold. Okay, so the difference between dynamic movement and static is exactly what it sounds like. Dynamic is movement involved with a stretch. A static hold is where you hold the position for a certain length of time. Here you'll notice that my elbows are actually tucking in toward my inner thighs and pressing my thighs down to really kind of ground my femurs or my thigh bones. I love utilizing other parts of my body as an assist or even a self-massage assist. It's really valuable. So here you'll see that I'm hinged forward. This is an option. You do not have to do this. If it's enough for you to be in just this shape alone in your lower body, that's fine. If you want to hinge at your hip, please be my guest. Okay? Release that stretch. Okay? And then grab your block and your tennis ball. Here I have a lacrosse ball because I forgot my tennis ball. So lacrosse balls are going to be more intense. Tennis balls are a little bit softer. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one leg into a 90-degree angle and then place that ball just above your knee. Okay. Not on your knee, but above it. Not to the inside of the knee, above it. Okay. So it's in that fleshy part of your inner thigh. You'll probably start to feel this pretty quickly. You'll feel maybe like, the height of tension raise, and that's completely normal. You can massage it out with the ball, moving a little bit back and forth, side to side, shear the muscles a little bit, or you can just hold this like I'm doing here in a compression position and find comfort in the rest of your body. Okay, so release your torso to the floor, come to the side, do what you need to do. Now you want to go up the length of your inner thigh. So I like using a block or something to lift the ball up a little bit higher. You can use a book, whatever you find is best for you. You may need to orient whatever prop you use to have enough surface area for the ball to roll. Okay, I've definitely found myself in a position where the ball has rolled off my prop. So that's just a little word to the wise. Here, I'm just holding this shape just to allow for the muscle to really kind of get used to releasing the tension. Okay, as you see, I have my head propped up and the rest of my body is pretty relaxed. Okay. So do this for as long as you like. You can go up the length of your leg about 3 times, like 3 steps. So here I find Sphinx pose. That's a bent arm position. You're getting a nice curve in the low back. Okay, it's just a nice opener here, a nice transition position. Now I'm moving to the other side here. So I'm coming down to my belly here, and then I'm going to take my other leg out to the side, and I'm going to start with the ball by itself. And I'm placing that ball just above the anterior knee, okay, the medial knee here. explore, see what you find. You may notice that one side is different from the other, like one side may be a little bit more intense than the other, and that's completely normal. So just find a position that works for you. Again, aim to bring relaxation to the rest of your body. So maybe even notice the expression you have on your face. Notice if you're breathing. Notice the texture of your breathing. Notice if you're breathing all the way down into your belly. Things like that. Notice how you're feeling. Okay? And then find some different positions for your adductors, which are the muscles of your inner thighs. There are multiple of them, so you need to move up the leg to really help access most of them. Okay, and this is going to help any movement that requires a good range of motion in this part of your body, or a lot of lateral rotation or wide-legged positions. Okay, a lot of people are tight here just from sitting a lot or even crossing their legs a lot. So this is a great exercise. And it preps you for our next shape. But first, I like to kind of take a moment to repose, if you will, and find that restful action in the rest of my body. And as you're ready, you'll make your way into frog, which frog is kind of what it sounds like. It's a wide-legged position in your hips. This is usually one of the least favored positions for most classes, and I get it. It is not one of my favorites, but it is so important because most of us have really tight inner thighs, which can lead to aches and pains elsewhere in our body. So you can do it one of two ways. You can do it dual legs, so like I did in the first position, or you can do it one side at a time. This is my preferred way. I just like to show it both ways in case you wanted to try it both ways, okay? Or like a modification. I like it this way. It's a little bit more chill. It's the same shape you were doing with the MFR ball, but without the prop, right? So this is just focused on the stretch. So find that position where you feel the stretch. If you need to prop up your knee on a pillow or something just to enhance that stretch, you can totally do that. My bolster was a little too big, or my pillow was a little too big for that. So this will be a great option for you. A small pillow will be a great option for you if you need it. Here, we're just taking a little bit of cat-cow. Again, just to reset. If there's a different movement that you want to do, by all means, do that. I love a good cat-cow. It's just great to awaken those little muscles that support the spine. All right. And then return to your butterfly. So notice the difference. I mean, for me, I felt the difference like immediately in my inner thighs. I felt so much more grounded and capable to hold this shape, and I felt like my position was much wider. I could guide my heels in towards my pubic bone much more easily than before. So I love things like that. The MFR practice or any kind of practice, maybe a contract and release practice, is a great way to really enhance your flexibility quickly. Okay, this next shape, shoelace, we're taking, it's one leg over the other. So you're aiming to stack your knees. Of course, you do not have to do this, okay? It does not need to look like this. It can look very different from this, but this is something you're aiming for, okay? We're going for stretch in the outer thighs, okay? Specifically the top of the thigh and the hip of the top leg, okay? So something to be really mindful here that I know I had to be mindful of, and whenever I look at myself here, I can see that my shoulders are kind of edging up towards my ears. So something I would tell myself, if I were my own student, which I am, I would tell myself to roll my shoulders up and down, allow the tips of my shoulder blades to melt down towards the floor, okay? I would also encourage my breath to deepen, concentrate on my exhale. Good. And see if I can focus my energy down in my hips. Okay, see if that works for you. I know I need to remind myself of these things all the time, so it's really not a new thing to be reminding myself of this all the time. It doesn't even matter how long I've been doing it. Now, to quickly transition, take your hands to the other side and just twist, or you can easily switch the cross of your legs. It's totally up to you. But we're going to do the other side, again, stacking the knees. Okay, so focusing on rooting the hips down into your mat or the floor, letting the shoulders slide down the back, loosening your jaw. Good. There, I just showed an optional look of this position. This is a really great one, just if you sit at a desk or even if you do some tough glute workouts, I love this position. And again, release anything that you're finding tightness in. Like I hold a lot of tension in my jaw and in my neck and my shoulders, so I like to loosen it up. Refine that position, and if you need to deepen, take the forward fold here. So guiding the chest towards the knees. See if you can keep a flatter back here too to keep the spine long. And still concentrate on your breath. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose and mouth. Good. And then take your feet wide and drop your knees from one side to the other. This is great just to open the outer hips or to loosen yourself up. Breath, add a little movement and play, and then take your ball again. Here we're going into a figure 4 shape, so stack one ankle on top of your opposite thigh, and then lift that glute and place the ball right in the center. You want to avoid your joints, okay, so try to find the moving part, and you'll also feel this awaken, feel that ping of sensation. And like the inner thighs, you want to massage your glutes and your lateral rotator muscles. Here with the ball, use a little bit of self-massage. Use your hands to lift you up so you can guide movement here. And if you find a spot that's really tense, maybe just hold it, okay? Use that compression action versus a rolling action. See, I found a spot here. It's super tight, but I'm breathing through it. Sure, there are going to be facial expressions. I encourage them. Make noise. Do what you need to do. It's great. It's great for you. Okay? Now release, shake it out, and even offer a little tapodiment or banging on your glute here a little bit. Drumming your glute, I should say. All right, and then go to the other side. So ankle stacks on top of the thigh, lift the hip, place the ball right in the meaty part. Good. And again, you may notice that one side is different than the other. Totally normal. I think I'm holding back here from showing you how painful this is. Okay, there I go. I have really tight glutes as well, tight piriformis, which when the piriformis is tight, it can often mimic sciatic pain because the sciatic nerve runs straight through the piriformis muscle. So this is why it's so important to stretch and massage your glutes or massage your hips. It's not just your glutes. It's very valuable and will save you a lot of pain in the long run. Good. And then remove the ball, shake it out, and then drum the booty once again. Very nice. And then set that aside. And we're going to flip over and come into a downward facing dog. Okay, so find your table position and then lift off. Guide your hips up and back. Guide your chest towards your thighs. Again, it does not have to look like this. Pedal out your heels if you like. You know, if you want to sway from side to side, really take any variety of this shape that feels good to you. That's what you're used to. And then we'll move into pigeon. So lift one leg up, guide your knee over to the wrist, and then guide the foot to the opposite wrist, okay? It does not need to be a 90-degree angle, okay? That is not correct. You do not need to shove your bones into shapes that don't work for your anatomy. So find what's comfortable for you. Focus on keeping the back leg straight though, okay? And try to avoid sickling in your ankle and foot. I know I'm prone to that, so I have to be really mindful. You'll see my toes dig and to create length in my hip flexors or my quad tendons and quads. So that is what helps keep me and my body honest and in an aware, integrated position, okay? For me, I like to be on my forearms here, keeping my spine super long, okay? And then I like to kind of shift in this shape a little bit and prop myself up, squeeze my inner thighs in towards one another. Good. And lift off to get more of a quad stretch here. So this is really important to take rather than just dumping into the hips. Notice that my hips are square. And if you want a little bit of hamstring action and booty action, I love to guide my heel towards the hip. Again, it's not necessary, but that action also helps me open in my quads a little bit more. Okay? So as you can, rest here. Find a restful enough shape, but still active shape. And then as you're ready, guide yourself up and back into downward facing dog. Good. If you want to move through a vinyasa here, you can, or some cat-cow, or take a break. That's completely fine and deserved. But when you're ready, let's shift to the other side. Okay? As you're ready. I guess I am taking a little bit more of a hamstring stretch here, so please, if you're feeling called for that, go for it. And whenever you're ready, take that leg up. You see the shape of that foreleg there. Now, I have stupid flexibility, so again, your foot does not need, and foreleg do not need to be creating a 90-degree angle like this. It's not mandatory. If they do, great. If they don't, great. It's really okay. Your foot can be kind of positioning towards the hip. But what is important is that you're finding a true and honest shape for your body. Okay? So, as you're ready, kind of find extra space in the front of your hip and those quads and the quad tendon there. That gets super tight a lot of the time. And then lift yourself up, squeeze your inner thighs or even your perineum, those muscles at the base of your pelvis, and then guide the heel in towards the glutes, okay? That's just for some activation, and that's also going to help. See how I was able to just kind of easily drop down into that shape? Yeah. You just create space that way. Muscle activation and muscle stretching, it's contract release stretch kind of thing. So we can do more of that in another class. But whenever you're ready, just guide yourself out, up and back, find your downward facing dog again, shake it out, pedal your heels, find your stretch. And then my favorite shape is Malasana. So this is a squat, a yogi squat, but here I'm just kind of prepping my body, prepping my ankles for that, kind of getting into the inner thighs a little bit more, to the hips. So we've done a lot of things that have helped us prepare for this position. So utilize are grounded to the floor. My knees are moving out to the sides. My elbows are tucked to the insides of my knees, or the medial part of my knees. And I'm kind of pressing my knees away from me and then extending through the crown of my head. So grounding through my seat, grounding through my low spine and pelvis, or my sacrum. Okay, there, beautiful. And then I'm taking the block away. So I was just kind of making my way down. So I started on the higher end and then I lowered it, and now I'm kind of squatting on my own. It's ideal to keep your chest really open and available in these positions. So I encourage that as much as possible. So focusing on guiding the crown of the head up towards the ceiling is very helpful. Okay, now shake it out, come back down to the floor. Good, and as you're ready, move into a hamstring stretch or forward fold here. Good, your hands can be again on your knees, on your shins, or on your feet. It's really up to you. I know my position in this shape changes regularly. Like sometimes if I'm just doing a lot of yoga, I'm super flexy in my hamstrings. If I'm lifting weights a lot, then I'm not as flexible in my hamstrings because I'm just using them all the time. So it's really okay to find variety in your muscle groups. Just think about like how you've been using them or not using them. So, and what kind of activities you've been doing. I think that awareness helps create a lot more grace for our bodies. So if you can, just notice and see what comes up. Good. This is a great shape. You could add a pillow or bolster here as well. Whenever you're ready, release your legs. Let's take another butterfly shape. Good. And then move into a wide-legged fold. So here I'm to the side, so just so you can see how my legs are spread out away from me, and I'm guiding my chest down towards my thighs. And I'm doing that a little dynamically there, okay? Or you see me here, facing you. Good. So you're opening through your inner thighs. For me, one side is a little bit tighter than the other. Okay, again, you're going to find that, and that's completely normal. And remember to breathe. Remember to stay grounded through your pelvis. You can shift to one side here to get a nice trunk stretch. Great. You can do that with the breath. So as you inhale, you come to center. As you exhale, you hinge to the side. Beautiful. And then whenever you're ready, guide your legs back together. Give them a little pat, a little drumming. Thank your body for showing up for you. Good. And then make your way down onto your back to your Shavasana. If there's anything you want to do before that, like I'm doing a little rocking and rolling here, it just feels good on the length of my spine. But find a position that works for you. Take a few breaths and find your Shavasana. Ciao for now.